The house she inherited still had his breathing. Not memory, not grief. Actual breath in the walls. For 12 years she ran. Then inheritance called her back. What she found wasn't love. It was documentation. Have you ever inherited something that refused to let you go? Lena stands in the doorway of Briar House for the first time in 12 years. The keys are cold in her hand. Colder than they should be. The kind of cold that comes from something waiting too long to be touched. The house is darker than she remembers. Not the soft dark of evening settling in, but a thick, deliberate darkness, like the walls have learned to hold shadows close. The porch light flickers once, twice, then steadies into a dim amber glow that barely reaches the threshold. She tells herself to step inside. Her feet don't move. The air seeps out through the cracked door. Old wood, dust, something faintly metallic, and beneath that, something else. Something alive. Something that's been breathing in the silence, waiting for her to come back. She hears it before she crosses the threshold. A low, rhythmic sound. Steady, deliberate, like breath held too long and finally released. It comes from somewhere deep inside the walls, from the bones of the house itself. Not loud, but impossible to ignore. Lena's hands tremble. She tells herself it's the cold. She knows better. She pushes the door open. It swings inward, without resistance, as if it's been expecting her. The hallway stretches ahead, narrow and dim, the floorboards pale under a film of dust. Everything is exactly where it was when she left. The coat rack, the mirror with the tarnished frame, the small table beneath it, bare except for a single unopened envelope, her father's handwriting on the front. Lena. She doesn't touch it. The breathing sound follows her as she steps inside, faint but persistent. A rhythm she recognizes without wanting to. The same rhythm her father used to keep when he stood in doorways, watching her, waiting for her to notice him, to acknowledge that he was always there. She used to hear his voice in these rooms, commanding, certain, everywhere at once. You're holding the bow wrong. Again. I didn't ask if you were tired. Even now, 12 years later, she can feel the weight of it, the way his words used to fill the house, pressing into the corners, leaving no room for her own thoughts. She closes the door behind her. It doesn't slam. It settles, soft and final, like it was always going to. The hallway is colder than the porch. She pulls her jacket tighter, but it doesn't help. The cold isn't coming from outside. It's coming from the walls, from the floors, from the house itself. She walks slowly, her footsteps careful, as if the floor might remember the weight of her and decide to speak. The breathing sound grows louder near the living room. She stops at the doorway, hand gripping the frame. The room is untouched. His chair sits in the corner, angled toward the window. The armrests are worn smooth where his hands used to rest. The side table next to it holds a coffee mug, half full, the surface of the liquid long since evaporated into a dark ring at the bottom. A book lies open on the seat, pages yellowed and curled at the edges, as if he just stepped out, as if he's coming back. Lena's breath catches. She forces herself to exhale. Once, twice, trying to match the rhythm of the house, trying to prove she can control her own lungs in this place. She can't. The breathing in the walls is louder now, steady, patient, like it has all the time in the world to wait for her to understand. She grips the keys tighter. Her knuckles go white. The metal bites into her palm, sharp and grounding. She focuses on the pain, on the realness of it, on the fact that she's here, standing, breathing her own breath, not his. But the house doesn't care. It exhales again, low and even, and Lena feels it in her chest. A pull, a recognition. The same feeling she had when she was 17, sitting at the piano, her father standing behind her, his breath on the back of her neck as he corrected her timing, her posture, her everything. She thought leaving would be enough. She thought 12 years would be enough. But Briar House remembers her, and it's been waiting. She turns away from the living room. The hallway stretches ahead, leading deeper into the house, toward the kitchen, toward the stairs, toward the basement, toward whatever's breathing in the dark. Lena takes one step forward, then another. The keys are still cold in her hand. She doesn't let go. Lena has been living 3 hours away for the past 12 years. A small apartment, remote work, a life built on the principle of portability, nothing she couldn't pack in a weekend, nothing she couldn't leave behind if she needed to. No attachments, no obligations, no one asking her where she came from or why she never talks about home. She'd convinced herself it was freedom. But standing here now, in the kitchen of Briar House, she realizes it was just distance. And distance isn't the same thing. The kitchen is exactly as she remembers it. The same pale yellow walls, the same wooden table with 4 chairs, though only one was ever used. The same window above the sink, looking out onto the overgrown backyard where nothing grows anymore except weeds and wild bramble. She opens the refrigerator. Empty, clean, unplugged, but the faint smell of something sour lingers. Old milk, spoiled vegetables, the ghost of meals her father ate alone after she left. She closes it quickly. The breathing sound is fainter here, muffled by the walls, but it's still there. A rhythm she can feel more than hear, like a pulse. Like the house has a heartbeat and it's synced to something she doesn't want to name. She walks back into the hallway. Her footsteps echo too loud in the silence. She tries to soften them, but the floorboards creak anyway, announcing her presence to the empty rooms. Dunley had called 2 weeks ago. His voice had been careful, professional, but there was something underneath it, something cautious, almost apologetic. Ms. Travers, your father's estate is settled. The house is yours. No debts, no conditions, just the property. You can do with it as you see fit. She thanked him, said she'd sell it sight unseen, asked him to recommend a realtor. But then Dunley had paused, just a beat, just long enough for her to notice. You might want to see it first, before you decide. She'd asked why. He hadn't answered directly, just said, it's preserved. Everything's still there. And now she understands what he meant. Lena moves into the living room again. She forces herself to look at it properly this time. At the chair, at the side table, at the coffee mug with its dark residue at the bottom, at the book left open, spine cracked, pages frozen mid-sentence. She steps closer. The mug is ceramic, white, chipped along the rim. She remembers her father holding it every morning, sitting in that chair, reading in silence while she practiced piano in the next room. She'd never been allowed to interrupt him, never been allowed to ask questions or complain or stop playing until he told her she could. She picks up the mug. It's heavier than she expects. The ceramic is cold against her palm. She turns it over. There's a faint coffee stain on the bottom, the kind that comes from years of being set down in the same spot, over and over, until it leaves a permanent mark. She sets it back down, carefully, exactly where it was. The book is a biography, someone she doesn't recognize, a politician or businessman, probably. Her father had always read biographies, men who built empires, men who controlled things, men who never apologized for taking up space. She doesn't touch the book. Instead, she walks to the piano. It's in the corner of the living room, near the window, an upright, dark wood. The keys are covered with a thin layer of dust, but otherwise it looks untouched. She lifts the fallboard slowly. The keys are yellowed but intact. She presses one, middle C. The note rings out, clear and sharp, cutting through the silence. The breathing sound stops. Lena freezes. Her hand hovers above the keys. The house is completely still. No hum, no rhythm. Just the fading echo of the piano note, and her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Then the breathing starts again, slower this time, deliberate. She lowers the fallboard. Her hands are shaking. She remembers being 7 years old, sitting on this bench, her father standing behind her, hands clasped behind his back, watching, always watching, never speaking unless she made a mistake, and she always made mistakes. She remembers the weight of his silence, the way it pressed down on her shoulders, on her spine, until she sat straighter, played harder, tried to disappear into the music so he wouldn't see her anymore. But he always saw her. She remembers being 15, 16, 17. The silence growing heavier, the corrections sharper, the praise, if it ever came, so thin and conditional it felt like a trap. She remembers the day she told him she was leaving, that she'd saved enough money, that she had a friend with a couch 3 hours away, that she couldn't stay here anymore. He'd stood in this room, right where she's standing now, hands behind his back, silent, unblinking. And then he'd said, "You'll come back." Not a question, not a threat, just a fact. The way someone might say the sun will rise or water will freeze. She'd left anyway. And he'd been right. Lena turns away from the piano. She walks through the dining room, untouched, table set for one. Through the den, his desk covered in papers, pens arranged in perfect parallel lines. Through the hallway again, past the stairs, toward the door that leads to the basement. The breathing is louder here. She stands in front of the door. Her hand rests on the knob. Cold metal, smooth and worn from use. She doesn't open it. Not yet. But she knows she will. The house exhales, low and steady, waiting. Lena steps back. She tells herself she'll come back tomorrow, that she needs air, that she needs space. But she doesn't leave. She stands in the hallway, keys still gripped tight in her hand, and listens to the house breathe. Lena opens the basement door. The breathing sound is unmistakable now. Rhythmic, mechanical, deliberate. Not breath at all, but something designed to sound like it. She stands at the top of the stairs, looking down into the dark. There's no light switch on this side of the door. She remembers that. She remembers her father telling her the basement was off limits, that it was his workspace, that she had no reason to go down there. She'd never questioned it. Now she understands why. The air rising from below is cold, colder than the rest of the house. It moves against her face like something alive, something reaching up to pull her down. She takes the first step. The staircase is narrow, wooden. The handrail is rough under her palm, splintered in places where the varnish has worn away. She keeps her hand on the wall instead, trailing her fingers along the plaster as she descends. The breathing grows louder with each step. By the time she reaches the bottom, it's everywhere. A low, steady hum that fills the basement, vibrating through the concrete floor, through the walls, through her chest. She finds the light, a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. She pulls the chain. The basement floods with harsh yellow light. It's smaller than she expected. Unfinished. Concrete walls, exposed pipes running along the ceiling. A metal shelving unit against one wall, half empty, holding paint cans and tools and boxes labeled in her father's precise handwriting. And in the corner, mounted to the wall, an old ventilation system. Industrial. Oversized for a house this size. A large metal box with intake and exhaust vents connected to ductwork that snakes up through the ceiling and into the walls. Above. The machine hums steadily, cycling air through the house, filling the silence with its artificial breath. Lena stares at it. She remembers Dunley mentioning something about climate control, about her father installing a system to preserve the house, to keep the air circulating even when no one was home. 20 years ago, Dunley had said, right after Lena turned 18, right after she started talking about leaving. The machine breathes in, breathes out, steady, patient. She steps closer. There's a metal grate on the front, bolted shut. She can see the fan blades inside, turning slowly, rhythmically, pulling air in and pushing it back out through the ductwork. It's just a machine, but it sounds like him. Lena turns away. She tells herself that's all she came down here to see. That she can leave now, that she can call someone to shut it off, to empty the house, to take care of everything so she never has to come back. Then she sees the workbench. It's against the opposite wall, a long wooden surface covered in dust, and on top of it, stacked in neat rows, spines aligned, dozens of notebooks, journals, all the same size, all the same black cover, all labeled with years written in silver ink, her father's handwriting. Lena's breath catches. She doesn't move. She just stares at them, counting. 12 journals, maybe 15, maybe more, stacked in chronological order, oldest to newest, covering decades. She walks toward the bench. Her legs feel heavy. Her pulse pounds in her ears, louder than the ventilation system, louder than anything. She picks up the journal on top, the most recent one. The cover is worn smooth. She opens it. The first page is dated, 3 years ago. The handwriting is shaky but legible. January 7th. Lena called today. Brief, polite, asked about my health. Did not ask about the house, did not offer to visit. Conversation lasted 4 minutes, 32 seconds. She sounded tired. She always sounds tired. Lena's hands go numb. She flips forward. More entries, all dated, all about her. March 12th. No call this month. Checked her social media. Nothing new. She's still working remotely. Still alone. Good. June 4th. She mentioned a coworker. Name, Sarah. Friendship seems superficial. She won't let it go deeper. She's learning. September 19th. No contact in 2 months. She's pulling away again. It doesn't matter. She'll come back. They always do. Lena sets the journal down. Her hands are shaking. She picks up another one. Older. 10 years ago. She flips it open at random. April 23rd. Lena woke at 6:47 a.m. Breakfast. Toast, black coffee. Practiced piano from 7:15 to 8:30. Posture improved, but tempo still inconsistent. She rushed through the Beethoven. Corrected her twice. She didn't argue. Progress. She turns the page. April 24th. Lena woke at 6:50 a.m. 3 minutes late. Breakfast. Cereal. Orange juice. Practiced piano from 7:20 to 8:45. Missed 2 measures in the Chopin. Made her repeat the section 6 times. She cried. Did not comfort her. She needs to learn discipline, not sympathy. Lena's vision blurs. She flips faster. Page after page, entry after entry. Years of her life documented, logged, analyzed. What time she woke, what she ate, how long she practiced, every mistake she made, every time she cried, every time she failed to meet his expectations. She opens another journal, further back, 15 years ago, July 9th. Lena mentioned wanting to apply to colleges out of state. Told her she wasn't ready. She believed me. She always believes me. August 3rd, found applications hidden in her room. Intercepted the mail. Threw them away. She doesn't need to know. October 17th. She asked why she hadn't heard back from any schools. Told her rejection is part of life. She looked devastated. Good. She'll stop dreaming and start focusing on what matters. Lena drops the journal. It hits the concrete floor with a dull thud. Her chest is tight. Her throat is closing. She can't breathe. The ventilation system hums louder, filling the basement with its endless mechanical exhale, and she realizes this is what he wanted. Not just to watch her, not just to control her, but to preserve her, to document her, to keep her cataloged and contained, even after she left. She picks up the last journal, the one on the edge of the bench, the newest one. She opens it to the final entry. The date is 3 days before he died. The handwriting is worse now. Shaky, uneven, but still deliberate. She left because she thought she could escape this. But the house remembers her. I built it to remember. I installed the system to keep everything preserved. Every room, every object, every piece of her that she tried to leave behind. She'll come back. She'll stand in these rooms and realize she never really left. And when she does, she'll understand. Inheritance isn't what I leave her. It's what she can't escape. They always come back. Lena closes the journal slowly. Her hands are steady now. Cold. Numb. She looks at the ventilation system, at the machine her father installed 20 years ago, at the lungs he built for this house so it could keep breathing after he was gone. She sets the journal down. She doesn't put it back in order. She turns and walks toward the stairs. The machine hums behind her, steady, relentless. She doesn't look back. Lena doesn't climb the stairs. She turns back to the workbench, to the journals, to the years of her life stacked in black notebooks, waiting to explain everything she never understood. She picks up a journal from the middle of the stack. Older, 15 years ago, when she was 16. She opens it. The pages are thin, yellowed at the edges. The ink has bled slightly in places, as if he'd written some entries quickly, urgently, afraid he might forget. September 12th. Lena asked about applying to colleges. Out of state. California, she said. Or maybe Oregon, somewhere far. I smiled, told her we'd look into it together. She believed me. Lena's throat tightens. September 28th. She's been researching schools. I found pamphlets hidden in her desk drawer. MIT, Stanford, Berkeley. She wants to study music. Thinks she's good enough. I haven't told her otherwise. Not yet. October 3rd. She asked me to help her with application essays. I agreed. Told her I'd proofread them. She thanked me. She still trusts me. Good. Lena flips forward. Her hands are shaking again. November 19th. Applications submitted. 6 schools. All out of state. All expensive. All designed to take her as far from here as possible. She thinks she's leaving. She thinks this is the beginning of something. It's the beginning of a lesson. The ventilation system hums louder. A low, vibrating growl that fills the basement presses against her ribs. Lena keeps reading. March 4th. Acceptances should be arriving soon. I've been monitoring the mail. Nothing yet. March 10th. First letter arrived. MIT. Acceptance. Full scholarship. I opened it in my office, read it 3 times. Then I burned it. She'll never know. Lena stops breathing. She reads the entry again, then again. The words don't change. I burned it. Her vision blurs. She blinks hard, forcing her eyes to focus. March 15th. 2 more letters. Stanford. Berkeley. Both acceptances. Both scholarships. I burned them in the backyard, the ashes mixed with the soil. She walked past me while I was doing it, asked what I was burning. I told her old tax documents. She nodded and went inside. Lena's chest feels like it's splitting open. She remembers that day. She remembers walking past him in the backyard, seeing the small fire in the metal drum he used for yard waste. She remembers the smell of burning paper. She remembers thinking nothing of it. She flips forward, her hands shaking so hard the pages tear at the corners. April 2nd. She's been checking the mailbox every day. watching for letters that will never come. I told her rejection is normal, that most students don't get in anywhere on the first try. She looked devastated. I put my hand on her shoulder, told her we'd figure it out together. She cried. I didn't. Lena drops the journal. It hits the concrete with a sharp crack. She picks up another one. Same year. Later entries. April 27th. Created email account in her name. Sent rejection letters from each school. Made them sound personal. Apologetic. Due to the competitive nature of this year's applicant pool. She believed every word. She came to me crying. Asked what she'd done wrong. I told her nothing. Told her the system is unfair. Told her she was better off staying close to home, going to community college, learning discipline before trying for something bigger. She nodded. She still believes me. Lena's hands curl into fists, the edges of the journal cut into her palms. She feels the sting, the thin line of blood welling up, but she doesn't let go. She remembers sitting at the kitchen table, sobbing, rereading those rejection emails over and over, trying to understand what she'd done wrong, where she'd failed, and her father, standing in the doorway, watching her, silent, patient. She remembers the way he'd finally spoken, calm, reasonable. You're not ready yet, but you will be. And she'd believed him. She'd believed every word. She flips to another entry. Her breath comes fast and shallow now, her chest tight. May 9th. She stopped talking about college, stopped researching, enrolled in community college for fall semester. She'll live here, commute, stay under my supervision. This is better for her. She doesn't know it yet, but she will. She thinks independence is freedom. I'm teaching her that freedom is a myth. Control is kindness. Guidance is love. She'll thank me when she realizes she needs this house, needs me. Lena's vision goes white at the edges. She'd stayed. She'd stayed for 5 more years, working part-time, commuting to classes, living in this house, sleeping in her childhood bedroom, practicing piano under his watchful silence. 5 years she'd lost. 5 years of hating herself for not being good enough, for failing, for disappointing him, and none of it had been real. She picks up another journal. Later, when she was 22, 23, January 6th, she's talking about leaving again. Found a job offer 3 hours away, remote work. She thinks distance will fix her. I haven't argued. Let her think she's winning. March 3rd. She left today, packed everything in 2 trips, didn't say goodbye, just handed me the house key and walked out. She looked relieved, proud of herself. Let her feel that for a while. March 10th. She called, asked how I was. I kept my voice neutral, didn't guilt her, didn't ask her to come back. She seemed surprised. Good. Let her think she escaped. Lena flips to the last pages. The handwriting is worse here. Shaky. Uneven. Written in the months before he died. She stopped calling. Good. Let her think she won. Let her build her small life in her small apartment with her small job and no attachments. Let her think she's free. The house will call her back. I've made sure of it. The ventilation system roars. The sound fills the basement, vibrating through the walls, through the floor, through her bones. Lena slams the journal shut. She stands, stumbling back from the workbench, her legs weak, her chest heaving. She looks at the journals, at the years of her life documented, dissected, controlled, at the proof that every failure she'd internalized, every moment she'd blamed herself, every year she'd lost, was his design, not love, not guidance, not even cruelty. Control, pure, calculated, absolute. She looks at the ventilation system, at the machine he installed to keep the house breathing, to keep himself alive in the walls, in the air, in the suffocating rhythm of inhale and exhale. The machine hums louder, as if responding, as if it knows. She's finally understood. Lena turns. She walks toward the stairs. Her legs shake. Her hands are slick with blood from where the journal edges cut her palms. She climbs. 1 step, 2. Her breath comes in gasps. The basement air follows her, cold and damp, clinging to her skin. She reaches the top, the doorway, the hallway. She doesn't close the basement door. She leaves it open, wide, letting the sound spill into the house, letting it breathe into every room. She stands in the hallway, chest heaving, hands trembling, blood smeared on her palms, and she whispers to the empty house, "You don't own me." The ventilation system hums, steady, relentless, waiting. Lena sits on the living room floor, her back against the wall. The journals piled beside her, blood dried on her palms, dark and crusted at the edges of the cuts. She can't leave. She tells herself she should, that she should walk out the door, get in her car, drive back to her apartment, and never think about this place again. But her legs won't move. The ventilation system hums in the distance, fainter now, muffled by walls and floors, but still there, still breathing. She pulls her phone from her pocket. Her hands shake as she scrolls through her contacts. She hasn't called anyone in weeks, hasn't wanted to, hasn't known what to say. She finds Maris's name, hesitates, then presses call. 3 rings, 4. "Lena!" Maris's voice is warm, surprised, a little concerned. Lena opens her mouth. Nothing comes out. "Lena, you there?" "Yeah," her voice cracks. "Yeah, I'm here." "What's wrong?" Lena closes her eyes. "I'm at my father's house." Silence on the other end. Then carefully, "I thought you were selling it." "I was. I am. She stops. Breathes. Tries again. "I found something." Maris waits. "Journals," Lena says. "He kept journals. About me. My whole life. Everything I did. Every mistake I made. Every time I—" Her throat closes. She swallows hard. "He sabotaged me, Maris. The college applications. The acceptances. He burned them. Forged rejection letters. Kept me here." The silence stretches longer this time. "Jesus," Maris whispers. "Lena, You knew him," Lena says. "You met him. You thought he was intense, right? Traditional?" "Yeah," Maris's voice is quiet now. Careful. "I thought he was strict, overprotective. I didn't know—" "I never told you." Lena's voice is flat. "I never told anyone. I thought it was normal. I thought I was the problem." She hears Maris exhale slowly, controlled, like she's trying not to cry. "I thought I escaped him," Lena whispers. "I thought leaving was enough. But he built this place to keep me. Even dead, he's still here. The house is still breathing. He's still—" "Then burn it down." Lena stops. "Burn it down," Maris says again. Her voice is stronger now, urgent. "Sell it. Donate it. Walk away and never look back. You don't owe him anything, Lena. Not your time. Not your grief. Nothing." Lena presses the phone harder against her ear. The floor is cold beneath her. The house is silent except for the distant hum of the ventilation system. "I can't," she says. "Not yet." "Why not?" "Because I need to understand why." Her voice breaks. Why he needed me trapped. Why he couldn't just let me go. Why the house still breathes. Maris is quiet for a long moment. Then, softly, "You think understanding will help?" Lena doesn't answer. "It won't," Maris says. "There's no reason that will make this okay. No explanation that will give you closure. Some people are just—" She stops. Starts again. "Some people break things because they can. Because they think love means control, and you can spend the rest of your life trying to figure out why, but it won't change what he did." Lena stares at the journals, at the stack of her stolen years, at the proof that every failure, every moment of self-doubt, every year she spent hating herself was engineered. "I know," she whispers, but she doesn't move. Maris sighs. "Do you want me to come? I can be there in 5 hours. We can pack up the house together. Or just leave it. Whatever you need." "No." Lena's voice is soft. "I need to do this alone." "Lena, I'll call you tomorrow. I promise." She hangs up before Maris can argue. The house settles into silence. The ventilation system breathes. In, out. Steady. Relentless. Lena sets the phone down. She picks up the last journal. The one she hasn't opened yet. The one from his final year. The cover is more worn than the others. The edges frayed. The binding cracked. She opens it. The handwriting is worse here. Shaky. Looping. Some entries trail off mid-sentence, as if he'd forgotten what he was writing. June 3rd. Lena hasn't called in 2 months. Checked her social media. Nothing. She's disappearing. Good. Let her think she's free. July 9th. The house is quiet without her. Too quiet. I installed the ventilation system to keep the air moving, to keep the house alive. But it's not enough. The house needs her. August 14th. I am the house. The house is memory. Memory is permanence. She will inherit all of it. She has no choice. Lena's hands go numb. She flips forward. The entries grow shorter. More fragmented. September 27th. She called. Brief. Asked about my health. I told her I was fine. She sounded relieved. She wants me to die. October 10th. I'm not afraid of dying. Death is just transition. The house will remain. The journals will remain. She will come back and she will read them and she will understand. November 3rd. She will inherit the house. She will inherit the breathing. She will inherit me. Lena closes the journal slowly. She sits in the silence, her chest tight, her breath shallow. She thinks about inheritance, about what it means to receive something you never asked for, something that weighs you down, that follows you, that breathes in your walls long after the giver is gone. She thinks maybe inheritance isn't what they leave you. Maybe it's what you carry until you're finally strong enough to set it down. If you've ever inherited someone else's need to control you, if you've ever felt like you were breathing someone else's air, you're not alone in this. Lena stands. Her legs are stiff. Her body aches, but she moves. She walks to the kitchen, pours herself a cup of cold coffee from the pot she made hours ago and never drank. The liquid is bitter, metallic. She sets the cup down without drinking. It sits on the counter next to her father's mug. 2 cups, both untouched. She walks back to the hallway, to the basement door, still open, still exhaling cold air into the house. She looks down into the dark. The ventilation system hums, waiting. Lena takes a breath, her own breath, uneven, ragged, hers. She descends the stairs, not because she's afraid, not because she's compelled, because she's choosing to. This time when she reaches the bottom, she doesn't hesitate. She walks straight to the ventilation system, to the machine her father installed to keep the house breathing, to keep himself alive in the walls. She stands in front of it, listening, watching the fan blades turn inside the metal grate. And she reaches for the power switch. Not yet, but soon. Lena stands in the basement, surrounded by journals. The ventilation system roars now, louder than it's been all day, louder than it should be, as if it knows what she's about to do. The sound fills the space, presses against her chest, vibrates through the concrete floor, through her bones, through the air itself. She steps closer. The machine is massive this close, industrial, built to last decades, built to outlive him. She speaks. Her voice is quiet at first. almost lost beneath the roar of the fan. You wanted me to stay small. The machine doesn't answer. It just breathes. In, out, mechanical, relentless. You wanted me to need you, she says louder now, to think I couldn't survive without your guidance, your corrections, your control. She stands directly in front of the ventilation system. The metal grate is bolted shut. She can see the fan blades inside, spinning fast, pulling air in and pushing it back out through the ductwork. She reaches for the grate. Her hands are steady now. No trembling, no hesitation. She pulls. The bolts are old, rusted, but they give. 1, 2, 3. The grate comes free with a screech of metal on metal, and behind it, more than machinery. Photographs, dozens of them. Laminated, preserved, tucked into the space around the fan housing, carefully arranged so they wouldn't interfere with the airflow. Lena's breath catches. She pulls one out. A photograph of her at 7 years old, standing at the piano, hands poised above the keys. Her father's handwriting is scrawled across the bottom in silver ink. Posture improving. Still rushing tempo. Needs discipline. She pulls out another, her at 10, holding a report card. All A's. His note. Math score should be higher. Complacency is failure. Another. Her at 13, smiling at a recital. His note. Smiled too much. Performance is not entertainment. It is precision. She pulls them out one by one, each photograph meticulously laminated, each achievement annotated with critique, each smile catalogued with correction. There are dozens, maybe more, her entire childhood preserved inside the breathing machine, curated, archived, displayed for no one but him. Lena's hands shake now, not with fear, with something else, something colder. She realizes. He didn't love her. He curated her, like an exhibit, like a project, like something that existed only to validate his own existence, his own control. She wasn't his daughter. She was his proof that he could shape something, mold it, keep it exactly where he wanted it. And when she left, when she broke free, he'd built this machine to keep her preserved anyway, to keep breathing life into the memory of the girl he'd tried to create. Lena pulls the photographs out faster now, lets them fall to the concrete floor. They scatter, some face up, some face down, all of them laminated, all of them marked with his handwriting. You don't own this anymore, she says. Her voice is calm, steady, devastating. You don't own me. She reaches past the photographs, past the fan housing, to the back of the machine where the wiring runs into the wall. She finds the power switch. It's old, heavy, the kind that requires deliberate force to move. She grips it. Her hand is steady. Her shoulders are back. Her spine straight. She looks at the machine, at the breathing lungs her father built for this house, at the mechanical heart he installed to keep his presence alive. And she speaks one last time. I'm not your project. I'm not your failure. I'm not yours. She pulls the switch. The machine shudders. The fan blades slow. The roar drops to a hum, then a whisper, then nothing. Silence. Complete. Overwhelming. Profound. The basement goes still. The air stops moving. The vibration in the walls, in the floor, in her chest, stops. For the first time in 38 years, Briar House is quiet. Lena exhales. The sound of her own breath is loud in the silence. Too loud. She can hear every inhale, every exhale, every beat of her heart. She stands in the stillness, her hands at her sides, her shoulders loose, her chest rising and falling in her own rhythm, not his. The photographs lie scattered on the floor around her feet, faces staring up at her, moments from a life she doesn't recognize anymore. A girl who believed she was failing, A girl who thought she wasn't good enough. She steps over them, leaves them where they fell. She walks to the workbench, to the journals. She picks up the stack, all of them. Years of documentation, years of surveillance, years of control written in black ink. She carries them to the center of the basement, sets them down in a pile next to the scattered photographs. She doesn't burn them. Not yet, not here, but she doesn't leave them either. She turns, walks to the stairs, climbs, one step at a time, slow, deliberate. Her footsteps echo in the new silence. She reaches the top, the hallway, the living room beyond it. The house feels different now. Not lighter, not warmer, just emptier, like something that was living inside it has finally died. She walks through the living room, past her father's chair, past the coffee mug, past the piano. None of it matters anymore. She stands at the front door, her hand on the knob, the keys cold in her pocket. She looks back one last time. The house is dark, silent, still, and it's just a house now. Nothing more. She steps outside, closes the door behind her, doesn't lock it. The air is colder out here, cleaner. She breathes it in, deep, filling her lungs with something that isn't stale, isn't preserved, isn't his. She walks to her car, gets in, sits in the driver's seat with the engine off. And for the first time in 12 years, she cries. Not because she's sad, not because she's angry, because she's finally free. Lena sits in her car until the crying stops. Not long, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20. Time feels different now, slower, wider. When her breath steadies, she gets out. The afternoon light has shifted, softer now. The sun lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the driveway, across the overgrown yard, across the house that's finally, completely silent. She stands at the edge of the property, looking. The grass is knee-high in places, wild, untamed. Bramble grows along the fence line, thorny and thick, reaching toward the house like it's trying to reclaim the space. A bird lands on the mailbox, takes off again. The wind moves through the trees. The world has been here all along, growing, changing, continuing. She'd forgotten that. She walks the perimeter slowly. Her legs are stiff, her body aches. But she moves. The backyard is worse than the front, the garden her mother used to tend. Before she left, before Lena was old enough to remember her clearly, is completely overrun. Weeds and wild vines tangled together, the fence sagging in places, the gate rusted shut. Lena stops at the back porch. The wood is rotting, soft in places. She steps carefully, testing each board before putting her weight on it. She sits on the top step, looks out at the yard, at the chaos of growth, at the proof that nature doesn't wait for permission. She thinks about all the years she blamed herself for not being good enough, for disappointing him, for failing to earn his approval. She thinks about the piano lessons, the endless corrections, the silence that followed every mistake. She thinks about the college rejections that weren't rejections, the life she could have had, the person she might have become. She thinks about the life she built instead, 3 hours away, small, careful, controlled, no attachments, no obligations, no one close enough to see her. She told herself it was freedom, but it was just distance, just another kind of preservation. Always looking over her shoulder, always waiting for him to reach through the miles and pull her back. And he had. Eventually, through inheritance, through the house, through the breathing in the walls. But not anymore. Lena stands, brushes the dust from her jeans, walks back around to the front of the house. She goes inside one last time. The hallway is dim. The afternoon light barely reaches through the dusty windows. everything is exactly as she left it. The coat rack, the mirror, the envelope with her name on it, still unopened on the small table. She walks through the living room, slowly, touching nothing, just observing. Oren's chair sits in the corner, empty. The armrests worn smooth. The book still open on the seat. The coffee mug still on the side table, residue dried at the bottom. They're just objects now, no longer sentinels, no longer watching, just furniture, just things left behind. She moves to the piano, lifts the fallboard, presses middle C. The note rings out clear and sharp in the silence. She closes the fallboard gently, walks away. In the kitchen, she pours out the cold coffee from the pot, rinses the cup she never drank from, sets it upside down on the counter to dry, next to her father's mug. Then she picks up her phone. She scrolls through her contacts, finds Dunley's number, calls. He answers on the second ring. "Ms. Travers, I wasn't expecting to hear from you today. I'm selling," she says. Her voice is steady, clear. "Clear the estate. Donate everything. I don't want any of it." Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, "Are you sure? It's a significant property. There may be items of value. Personal significance." "I'm sure." Dunley pauses. She can hear him breathing, thinking. "All right," he says finally. "I'll start the paperwork. It may take a few weeks to finalize. I'll need you to sign some documents. But if you're certain..." "I am." "Understood. I'll be in touch." She hangs up. The house is quiet around her. No breathing, no hum. Just the soft creak of old wood settling, the faint whistle of wind through a crack in the window. She walks back to the hallway, to the small table, to the envelope with her name on it. She picks it up, turns it over in her hands. The paper is thick, expensive, his handwriting precise. She sets it back down, unopened. Whatever he wanted to say, whatever final message he left, she doesn't need it. She already knows everything she needs to know. She walks to the kitchen, takes the keys from her pocket, sets them on the counter next to the drying coffee cups. She doesn't need them anymore. The house isn't hers, not really, not in any way that matters. She walks to the front door, steps outside, pulls it closed behind her, doesn't lock it. The evening air is cool, clean. She breathes it in, deep, filling her lungs with something that isn't stale, isn't preserved, isn't trapped. She walks to her car, gets in, starts the engine. For a moment, she just sits there, hands on the wheel, engine idling, looking at the house through the windshield. Briar House. Dark, silent. Still, just a house. She puts the car in reverse, backs down the driveway, turns onto the road. In the rearview mirror, the house grows smaller. The windows dark, the porch empty, the breathing gone. She drives. 1 mile, 2, 5. The landscape changes. Suburban streets give way to open road. Trees line the highway. The sun dips lower, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. Lena keeps driving. She doesn't know where she's going yet. Back to her apartment, probably. Back to her small life. But it won't be the same anymore. She's lighter now, emptier, unmoored without the weight she's been carrying. It's strange, disorienting, but it's hers. She rolls down the window, lets the wind fill the car, lets it blow through her hair, against her face, into her lungs. She breathes, her own breath, uneven, ragged, free. And for the first time in 38 years, she doesn't feel like she's running. She feels like she's leaving. There's a difference. 6 months later, Lena receives a letter. Not email, not text. A physical letter in a cream-colored envelope with careful handwriting on the front. She opens it standing at her kitchen counter. Morning light streams through the window. The apartment is small, 1 bedroom, but it has good light. High ceilings, windows that open. The letter is from a family. The Carters. They bought Briar House. They're renovating it. New floors, fresh paint. They're turning the basement into a playroom for their daughter. They're writing because they found something. An old photograph tucked behind a loose board in the living room. A woman at a piano, young, smiling. They assume it's Lena. They want to know if she has any memories of the house she'd like to share. Any stories. Anything they should know. Lena sets the letter down, looks out the window. She thinks for a long time. Then she picks up a pen. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Carter, it was my father's house. I hope you make it yours. Lena, she folds the letter, seals it, sets it by the door to mail later. She doesn't tell them about the journals, the ventilation system, the years of surveillance, the breathing in the walls. They don't need to inherit that. Lena pours herself coffee. Real coffee. Fresh. She drinks it standing at the window, looking down at the street below. The city is different here. Bigger. Louder. But she likes it. Likes the anonymity. Likes the way no one knows her father. No one asks about where she's from or why she left. She's been seeing a therapist. Once a week. Sometimes twice when it's hard. It's hard a lot. But she goes anyway. She's learning things. About control. About inheritance. About the way trauma doesn't end when the person who caused it dies. It just changes shape. Becomes something you carry instead of something that's done to you. She's learning that healing isn't linear. That some days she wakes up feeling light and free. And other days she wakes up feeling like she's still in that basement, surrounded by journals, listening to the breathing in the walls. Her therapist says that's normal. That recovery is progress, not perfection. Lena is trying to believe her. She's reconnected with Maris. They talk on the phone every few weeks, sometimes more. Maris came to visit last month, stayed for a weekend. They didn't talk about the house much. Didn't need to. Mostly they just existed together. Watched movies, cooked dinner, laughed about things that weren't heavy. It felt good. Strange, but good. Lena is trying to let people in. Slowly. Carefully. She's joined a book club. Talks to her neighbors. Goes to coffee with a coworker sometimes. Small steps. But forward. Some nights, she still wakes thinking she hears breathing. A low, rhythmic sound. Steady. Persistent. The first time it happened, she'd panicked. Sat up in bed, chest tight, hands shaking, convinced the house had followed her, that the ventilation system had somehow installed itself in her walls, that she'd never really escaped, but it was just the radiator. Old pipes knocking, steam hissing through metal. Other nights it's the wind, or the neighbor's HVAC unit cycling on, or her own breath, loud in the silence of a room that's too quiet. She's learning the difference now between memory and haunting. Memory is something you carry. You choose when to look at it, when to set it down, when to let it inform you without defining you. Haunting is something that carries you, that moves you without your permission, that breathes in your walls whether you want it to or not. She's done being haunted. Lena finishes her coffee, rinses the cup, sets it in the dish rack to dry. She pulls on a jacket, grabs her keys, new keys, to a new lock, to a new life. Outside the morning is cool. The sun is just rising, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold. The air smells like rain and pavement and someone's toast burning 3 floors up. She walks to the small patch of ground behind her building. It's not much. A narrow strip of dirt between the apartment and the fence. But the landlord said she could use it if she wanted. She wanted. Last month she planted a garden. Herbs. Flowers. Things that grow without permission. Mint and lavender and wildflowers that don't need much care. She waters them now, kneeling in the dirt, hands in the soil, cool and damp and alive. The mint is doing well. The lavender is struggling a little. The wildflowers are thriving. She doesn't correct them, doesn't prune or shape or control their growth. She just lets them be. She sits back on her heels, wipes her hands on her jeans, looks at the small patch of green she's created. It's not perfect. Some plants are taller than others. Some are leaning toward the sun in odd angles. Some haven't bloomed yet, but it's growing, and it's hers. She breathes, deep, slow, filling her lungs with morning air, with the smell of earth and mint and something green and alive. Her breath is uneven, a little ragged, but hers. She thinks about inheritance, about what it means to receive something you never asked for, about the difference between what people leave you and what you choose to keep. Her father left her a house, journals, years of documentation, a machine that breathed for him after he died. But she didn't keep any of it. What she kept was the lesson, not the one he tried to teach her, not the one about control and discipline and need, the one she learned in spite of him. That inheritance isn't what they leave you. It's what you finally let go. Lena stands, brushes the soil from her hands, looks at the garden one more time. Then she goes inside. She has work in an hour. A book club meeting tonight. A phone call with Maris tomorrow. A life that's small, intentional. Hers. She locks the door behind her, not to keep the world out, not to keep herself in, just because that's what you do when you leave. And she's learning, finally, how to leave without running, how to breathe without being watched, how to carry memory without being buried by it. She makes breakfast, eats slowly, listens to the sounds of the building waking up around her. Footsteps above, water running through pipes, a door closing somewhere down the hall. The radiator hisses. She doesn't flinch. It's just a sound, just air moving through metal. Not a ghost, not a warning, not a breath held too long. Just the world, alive, continuing, and so is she.